Internet Explorers is brought to you by the following. Patreon. Get Internet Explorers episodes early and ad-free by becoming a member on Patreon. Head over to patreon.com/FPSDiesel and become a little guy today. Get access to exclusive videos, discounts, and more with memberships as low as $2. That's patreon.com/FPSDIESEL. Internet Explorers is also brought to you by Mana Potion Coffee. Mana Potion Coffee at manapotioncoffee.com is fair trade USDA organic coffee inspired by fantasy and nerd culture with a wonderful D&D theming and biodegradable packaging. Patreon members get a special discount, but if not, you can use code D10 at checkout for 10% off select orders. All right, and welcome to Internet Explorers. We're exploring the places of the internet that you probably don't want to go or don't have to, or we do it so you don't have to. There we go. We'll work on branding like that in the future, but I am Diesel.
I don't know. I mean, you're kind of just stealing Nostalgia Critics bit. Maybe we should do that every time.
Stop!
Just
no!
Have somebody shit every time as a way to introduce each episode.
So I say this on stream a lot. I'm always horrified that one day I'll wake up and I'll find out that I'm actually just Doug Walker. And that's my biggest fear ever.
Oh, yeah, that's a terrible thing to say. To be fair, I think Doug Walker's greatest fear is waking up every day and realizing that he's like the angry video game nerd, and it was all like a delusion. He just like sort of stuck a beard onto his face.
But
and
people
had, like,
look back fondly on the angry video game nerd. Everybody like thinks of Doug Walker, and they're like, yeah, that guy who reviewed Pink Floyd's The Wall and also had workplace abuse scandals because he got a bunch of nerds to stand in a desert for 9 hours a day.
I can't believe that he managed to review The Wall, have Corey Taylor, lead singer of Slipknot, on, and he got to sing like one song, and the whole thing was about how Doug got bullied on Twitter. That's what real fascism is.
We're already breaking the rule of the podcast, right? Because we're supposed to explain what this shit is, right? So that way, like the white woman on her way to work can understand, like, about what their boyfriend that is racist gets up to.
Okay. So Karen, this is for you. This is what you're listening to.
There's got to be a Nostalgia Critic episode in the future too.
Absolutely,
like, absolutely. But I'm Diesel. I'm a drama investigative journalist. Oh my god, that was horrible.
Congratulations, that's the gayest thing you have ever said. And my name is Beckett. I'm Beckett. I do like lore and shit posting stuff, and I mostly just laugh at people on the internet because my self-worth is incredibly low.
But part of the reason that Beckett is like a repository of old lore and old internet lore, right? The internet is filled with history that people just haven't cataloged, right? And so we have this mutual care about, I call it internet anthropology, and Beckett called it internet archaeology. And I had wanted somebody to do this with because there's so much stuff that just didn't get cataloged, and so now he's here doing this.
Yeah, so much shit gets lost, and it's a real shame because some of it's just like hilarious. Actually, there was just as an example, there was like clip on Twitter just today, Dioria shared around of Destiny talking to Dan on their podcast, and Destiny goes, "Well, who's Bunty King?" Dan's like, "Well, Nick Dioria is Bunty King, right?" Like, it's... and you can see Destiny's face just being like, the fuck is happening? What's happened that no one knows who Bunty King is anymore? They just think it's Nick's Twitter alt.
You know what's funny is I knew Bunty King. Speaking of Skeptics, this first episode is like an overview of like Skeptics, but yeah, speaking of Skeptic, I knew Bunty King. I was friends with him.
Did you tell him to wash his beard? Because a real friend would have told him to wash his beard.
Uh, it was like, you know, when you're he was like a really he was a very magnetic personality. Actually, I guess we're getting into it now. Speaking of, okay, yeah, actually, you do you want to explain what the skeptics are? Because I feel like that's it's a very loose connection of like
Yeah, so
people.
the skeptic community essentially grew out of a couple of different things, but broadly speaking, it's the inheritors of both the former atheist community and kind of the remnants of like Gamergate, and was a heavy anti-SJW, anti-feminist community. Largely, it consisted of a kind of a range of people, but the content format was in short to medium length video essays, often debunking either a left wing argument or a left wing creator, or basically commentary on the culture war. And this intersected quite a lot through kind of the early 2010s, right up until 2016, and then begins to go off the rails, but contains a variety of people, from people like Andy Warski, Saga of a Cad, Armored Skeptic, as kind of almost a pseudo intellectual answer, using the same sort of process as the atheist community had used to debunk religious arguments online.
Yeah, there's a lot of overlap in this community. Like I was going through and I was reading some of the people. There's a lot of overlap with like the atheists and like anti woo woo community. Woo woo being like the pseudoscience stuff.
Yeah, I mean that was Jeff Holday's.
Yeah, that was Jeff. That was I actually got a story about Jeff that we'll get into later. But there's a lot of these guys where it was like, okay, they were very much it was supposed to be like centrist intellectualism. And then it slowly started to go like I'd say it probably leaned more right as time went on, because it was really easy cannon fodder in the mid 2010s about like social progressiveness, right? Like a BuzzFeed Francesca Ramsey, who was this woman who would make stuff about how like white people's existence in a space was imposing racist values just by them existing in a space.
Or, and Lacey Green. Until she betrayed them all.
Yeah, until she betrayed them all. Which I actually don't have that picture. That art picture. We gotta find that. I want to put that up.
I have a vivid burned image of Lacey Green in my head that may never leave me. And she did one particular video which was like how to like make consent sexy. And it's her basically lying on a sofa, like holding the camera above her, doing this sort of like sexy consent talk. And it's like just such a fucking weird video that it's remained like burned into my eyelids for like 10 years now.
Yeah, like part of what happened, I feel, with the skeptics is like, I don't even know if I call it radicalizing, but a lot of them were just like a lot stranger than they let on. Or some of unironically, some of the people that I have on my list are just straight up like probably like a Nazi, and then some of them just became like super lefty. Basically, these were guys that like postured themselves as intellectuals, and then it turned out they were like morons, or that they were easily swayed by like political ideologies, right? Like they switched teams like all the time throughout their career.
Yeah. So I think there's definitely like huge elements of that. But one of the most interesting things about it was because it was like so tied to like the group think at the time. I mean, you saw like Trump come in with his election, and kind of the divides that were caused during that period. And then that sort of like escalates into sort of the later Andy Warski stuff. But I think the skeptics are also a story about people who are in some ways victims of their own success. Because this content made an awful lot of money for people for a very confined period. And interesting, when we get into some of the stories, I'll talk about that, because I spoke to Jeff Holiday a few years ago about all of this. And one interesting thing is, I've heard a lot of people, myself included, actually, have sort of like laid things at the feet of what ended the community. But interestingly, from the perspective of a lot of people who were in it, it seems to be that they just reached a point where they were like, yeah, no one cares anymore. Which, is kind of bizarre considering that the culture war has remained inflamed long after the passing of the community.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because some of the guys that some people just left, this as a career. But then the ones that stuck around decided to go into all these different little camps where they just kind of parroted different talking points. Like Armored Skeptic is a YouTuber who comes up quite a bit. And he's like a conspiracy nut now.
Yeah, I mean, he comes up quite a bit, just not in the algorithm.
Yeah, yeah, that's also part of it. His ex-girlfriend is also in this list.
Do you know? Actually, I mean, you mentioned his ex-girlfriend, but she may be the biggest winner of the Skeptic community.
She is like one of the only winners, and she is now happily married and with child. There's so much, but I mean, I don't. You got one you want to open up with? I mean, we got Andy up on the screen right now. Do you want to explain to the audience who Andy is?
Yeah, let's explain. You have to show your screen to me.
Oh, yes.
Andy Warski is Andy Warski's an enigma. Is how I would put Warski. Warski is fundamentally somebody who I have previously described as either always ahead of or always behind of the current zeitgeist. And this video is a great example of that. Just play a bit of it.
It ruins my day. It ruins my week, actually. I lose a piece of myself every fucking episode I do this. I mean, I still do them because deep down inside, very just fucking deep down inside, I kind of like doing it. I kind of like watching things that torment me and ruin, and just it steals a piece of my soul each time I do this, and I will continue to do it because why the fuck not? And someone on my last video, Bun B, posted, please do more dumbest ever, Craigslist preferably. And then I wrote back to Bun B, you know what, on it, I'm on it. And then he wrote thanks, and I wrote anytime. And of course, I like to listen to people who comment, unless you have a different opinion, in which case you could suck my fucking dick.
Okay, we're a minute, this is horrible. This is really bad.
It's terrible, but it's 2015, Andy. So what's kind of fascinating about this is, like, you look at the stuff that happened like later in YouTube with a lot of, like, the reading Reddit stuff, the people doing the voice acting stuff, and all those people were basically at the point of the zeitgeist doing that. Andy was just way ahead of it. He was just so far ahead of what the fucking content was going to be. And that's kind of what his career's been like. When you look at like the boxing thing that's kicked off on YouTube, as far as I can tell, the first person to ever internet box was Andy Warski. Like, he was the first person to be like, yeah, I'm going to fight you. And this zeitgeist thing holds true except for one point in his career, and that's Warski Live. So Warski basically started to become a skeptic, and he started making videos with his friend Chris Warski, who also known as Asian Andy. It wasn't Asian Andy. Cut that. That's a completely fucking different person. What am I saying?
I was about to ask if Asian Andy was Chris Warski.
No, it's just that, you know, when you like have something in your head and you're like, that makes sense, and you're suddenly like, no, they're different people.
Well, I thought that was the same guy. I didn't know that was a different guy. I know there was another guy that was Andy's brother, but I thought Andy's brother was also the Asian guy.
But regardless, like, so Chris Warski was basically his close friend. They made like video content together. basically going over articles from feminists, or like they go over Frankie, and started to like produce content pretty regularly, sort of in the vein of Sargon or Bearing, right up until he became a live streamer, then got addicted to cocaine and went insane. It's kind of a rapid decline. But yeah, there's also, so I sent you another video as well that's worth watching, because again, Andy's now seen as this sort of he does Kino Casino. He's sort of seen in those kind of spaces. But I think the earliest thing I can find of Andy Warski is this wonderful little video.
If I were a hoe, even just for a day, I would spread my legs wide open and with my vagina I would show you my tits.
Wait, hold on. Is it that's Andy in a dress? That is Andy in a dress. Okay. All right, Andy.
Yeah,
honestly, not that surprising given the skeptic community. There are some other interesting images.
But yeah, so like Warski seemed to want to be like an entertainer long before he was one of the skeptics, and this just seemed to be the content niche that he fell into, which is an interesting one when you think about it, for how much of an impact he's had on both kind of like the skeptics themselves, but internet culture, right? Because Andy Warski is probably a name that most people are going to be familiar with.
Well, Andy is actually, even amongst much larger YouTubers, I mean, people who are, not to toot my own horn, people who I know that are like categorically famous people now, they're like, oh, Andy Warski, what happened to him? And then I have to explain that he had like a coke addiction and it all kind of spiraled out of control. Just for the sake of it, you mentioned Sargon and Bearing earlier. Sargon and Bearing were both, they're still around, but they're both like anti-SJW channels. They're like pretty embedded in the culture war, right? But yeah, for Andy specifically in the internet boxing, I remember a little bit of that story. He showed up for a fight and the other guy didn't. It is like, so, I'm missing a lot.
So yeah, a show began. This is kind of like later in the life cycle of the skeptics themselves. A show began called the Early Morning Kumite, which was run by a guy named Tonkasaur and a guy named Failure, which is an appropriate name for failure. But basically, there were sort of like three shows. I think it was Warski Live, Early Morning Kumite, and the Cunt Stream. And they all sort of rolled into each other. But Tonkasaur from the Kumite, a load of things happened. The Early Morning Kumite got banned. They started to host their stream on Warski's channel. They sort of sabotaged Warski's relationship with his then co-host JF Greppi.
Wait, like, whoa, pause. Warski, his co-host was JF.
Yeah, his co-host was JF. So this is like fucking so weird to talk about. I'm just realizing how many people. So Chris Warski left Warski Live because of the Rage After Storm stuff, and basically because like Warski. Okay, there's two stories to this I've heard.
We're gonna be here all night.
Yeah, we're gonna be here all night. One of them, in a nutshell, Chris Warski either got annoyed that Andy was like cozying up to the alt-right kind of like race realists, or Chris Warski ran off with a load of money. I've heard two different stories of this. I've got no idea if either of them are fucking true, but nonetheless, Chris Warski left. Andy then starts making the show with JF, and they sort of like do this like go back and forth kind of thing. And then that gets sabotaged. Like Tonka convinces Andy that JF's trying to take the show over and take the channel over. And then that all falls apart, and Warski says, okay, fuck you. Tonka had this like internet tough guy thing. He was like, I'll fight you, I'll turn up, I'm a professional wrestler. He lied about all of this. He was never a professional wrestler. But he basically said, yeah, sure, fine, fuck it, I'll fight you, Andy. They both set everything up. They were going to have like an MMA fight. It was on the ticket. And then Tonka like wouldn't send in his blood work, or he lied about his name, or he changed his name midway through. It was very unfucking clear, and it's been a while. But yeah, he never showed up. So Andy Warski was wheeled into the kind of like fight cage MMA thing on a wheelchair, because there was a joke that Tonka was on a wheelchair while wearing a Indian headdress. And that is, as far as I can tell, the very first internet fight, and it didn't even really happen.
Well, actually, I think there might be one internet fight that predates it, and this will probably be a future episode. But you know, the owner of Something Awful, Lotax, he fought Uwe Boll, the director, in the early 2000s.
Wait, was that when Boll basically said, "Oh, if you're a critic of my films,
Yes.
you can come and like
Yes.
box me"? And it was just, and people thought it was a joke, but he like got in the ring with him and just started like kicking the living shit.
Uwe Boll, the famous movie director, kicked the shit out of Lotax.
I didn't realize Lotax had fought Boll. That's fucking hilarious.
Yeah. I'd say rest in peace, Lotax, but you know, I don't know about that. There might be some criminal related things involved there. Okay. You mentioned a lot with like the the Andy and the Tonka fight. Andy ended up doing coke, and the next time I saw him, it was an IRL live stream where he was in like some fucking state, and he was standing in the middle of the road, and he's like pulling out a gun and threatening a guy.
Yeah, so he was out with, I believe the guy's name was Alex, and he was also there with Failure, I believe, if I recall correctly. Now, it's very hard to find this stream because YouTube will strike it almost immediately. In fact, Jeff Holiday actually uploaded a copy of it for me on his second channel, and it was unlisted, so I could download it, and it instantly got hit by YouTube, like just the minute he finished uploading it. But basically, they were doing this live stream thing where they've got the speakers, and they were walking down the street, and people were chatting in things like, you know, the N-word and racial slurs and racist jokes. And they got into an altercation with some guys who started following them. And Andy said, like, Alex, pull out your gun, pointing at them. And it's screaming, like, stay back, like, we'll defend ourselves, and, like, aim. And then the police turn up and arrest everyone. And, like, Andy looks super surprised that the police are arresting him. It's a complete fucking shit show. And I think that's what got his channel taken down.
Yeah, that was literally the last time I saw Andy until maybe this year, because he's around again. He's no longer on coke, as far as I know. He sounds like somebody who recovered, which is good.
Yeah, he's clean.
He runs a thing called Kino Casino now on Kick
with PPP.
Yes, yeah. So he is back. Warski stocks are up. I mean, that's not what you can say for most of the people. I do want to talk, because you mentioned JF earlier, and again, this is like, here's the thing: all these guys could be their own episode, because especially
I think they
JF.
will be eventually.
Right? Okay, JF was like a race realist. If, in my opinion, most people would call him a neo-Nazi. He's a eugenics expert. I think that's his words, not mine.
Yeah, he's got a doctorate.
He's got a doctorate in being a racist.
Now let's be clear. Like, it's all fun and games, but there is a serious element to this guy, which is just, you know, he's a disgusting individual, and it's not the neo-Nazism that bothers me. It's not the condescending tone. It's not even the fact that he may have allegedly murdered his wife. It's the fact that he's French Canadian. I just think the idea of a French Canadian being allowed to gain this much influence online is frankly disgusting. I'm not really sure how to feel about it beyond that.
I don't. Yeah. Yeah.
You see, it is not me who is under suspicion. The police, they have come to my house. They have banged on my window every day. They do not suspect anything.
Okay, so let's walk that one backwards because we just went from the coke addict streamer to the guy who may have murdered his wife. JF.
I want to be very clear with this as well. This is an allegation made by uncharitable people where JF himself has stated that his wife is just on a boat full of bananas traveling to Africa.
Is that really what he said?
He was like, "You just do not know with Mama JF, she is an adventurous spirit. She could be anywhere in the world right now. She could be in a boat and full of bananas traveling to Africa." Like,
okay.
Yeah. And one day she will just reappear. And I agree when somebody, like, I don't know, tries to replaster his walls and takes down the drywall and finds a body in there. Like,
he literally sounds like exactly the voice Beckett is doing. Okay, it's like a very pompous, like, self-important French guy. You see that I have gotten lots of money from a now dead pedophile known as Jeffrey Epstein. That's also true, by the way. His words. So to back it up, because it's really funny to be like, ha ha ha, Mama JF might be dead. First of all, I do believe people most often say that JF. Now JF is a little like skeptic adjacent. If you were to go down the quote unquote alt-right pipeline, he was one of the guys near the bottom.
Yeah, I think he's. I would say that he is responsible for. So something happened in around 2017, 2018. There was a lot of conversations involving the skeptic community and race realism, stuff to do with the bell curve and genetics. There were certain skeptics, such as a guy named Teal'c, who really specialized in kind of more scientific research and pulling apart papers. And they're race realists. They believe that race has a genetic impact on things beyond just how you look. It's to do with your intelligence, your base traits, all this kind of stuff. JF basically came in and started appearing around this time, and a large drama happened surrounding a guy named Crowton T, which basically split the remainder of the skeptics apart. And yeah, the JF started to like sort of be like, well, this is the intellectual narrative, and people just sort of like pick sides or fucked off, basically.
Yeah. And there's a few funny anecdotes about JF, aside from his French-Canadian status. The first is that he received, I think it was, now don't quote me on this, like $25,000 from Jeffrey Epstein.
I actually wasn't aware of this. That's fucking...
Yeah, so what happened is that he was interviewing famous United States renowned racist Richard Spencer. And he was like, oh yeah, well, I didn't know it at the time, but it turns out that I had taken a bunch of money from a world-renowned Jewish pedophile, and he had mentioned that Jeffrey Epstein was Jewish. Of course he did. And, you know, I'm pretty sure there's very few things you could say to Richard Spencer to have him dumbstruck, jaw wide open. Richard Spencer was astounded that JF had received money from Jeffrey Epstein to promote race realist intellectualism. Pausing today's episode for a second, I just want to point you in the direction of other stuff that is going on. Cope and Seed streams every week, give or take. I also stream every week on Diesel IRL. You can find us both linked down in the description below. And if you're looking for more podcast-related things, there are 2 shows in the network, one of which isn't out yet but is coming soon, called Loaded Dice, a D&D live podcast where the audience can play a role. It takes place in the world of New Canaan, a steampunk western inspired by spaghetti classics, Arcadum of Steamworks and Magic Obscura, and other wonderful steampunk-esque things, as well as Americana and folklore. It's a pretty good live show, if I do say so myself. There's also Mana Potion Table Talk, which is a behind-the-scenes thing that we do about the company, Mana Potion Coffee. Or if you want to see what else Beckett's up to, you can head over to Now Recording on YouTube. That's the Now Recording podcast. They do streams very frequently about random current drama. So if you want to find out about the history as it's being made, you can head over there and check out some of their episodes. They have so many for you to go take a look at.
Oh my god.
And then, yeah, so I do believe, I think this is a pejorative told about JF. They talk about how he, because he believes in his eugenics stuff, he only has sex with white women, but in particular, people mention how they're like, retarded white women, literally.
Okay, so this isn't, this is a vicious rumor that is absolutely true, and we have the court documents to prove it. So JF's previous partner was a woman. I'm not sure where she was from. I can't remember exactly. But he met this woman. I can't remember through internet chat rooms. And moved her into his house, and her parents basically took it all to court because this woman was deemed incapable of taking care of herself and making her own decisions. She's legally retarded. And okay, my favorite part of this as well is he tells this in a very emotional story on Warski Live. He's like, the courts, they have taken her and they have imprisoned her away from me, away from the man who loves her, and said that she is unable to make the decisions required of somebody, and that is a dark situation. And Andy just like goes quiet for a second and goes, damn, how retarded was she?
And that was JF's Joker moment, where he decided that he would now kill his wife, in my opinion. As that is a joke, by the way.
Look, I'm just saying, like, he's like, oh, Mama JF's left, and I do the things that all men do when their partner leaves. I clean out the cupboards, I tidy things, I make things more my space, I put up drywall. I'm like, wait, what? Oh, convenient. Place the hide body. Interesting choice.
Yeah, but that's the former Warski co-host, not for us to fall down the alt-right pipeline of us making fun of these guys. But yeah, now you can see my document, Beckett. But there's a lot of these guys, many of which fell down dat or various other political rabbit holes, or there's some that just fucked off from the internet. Bunty King was brought up earlier, and I did know the guy. I would say that I was friends with Anard at a point in time in my career, which is a funny one. I didn't really realize. Okay, so Bunty King was a what most internet intellectuals would call a radical centrist. And by that I mean he kind of didn't maintain a specific opinion. He kind of did a thing where he would go, both sides are kind of bad, actually. We got to learn to bridge the divide and talk to people. Some of those people were Mouthy Buddha, who made a video on the Jewish question, which is what it sounds like.
Oh my god, I'd forgotten that. I'd forgotten Mouthy Buddha existed. Holy fuck.
He's still around, and now he covers Pizzagate and how the world is actually a one-world government controlled by a great Jewish cabal with Hillary Clinton at the center.
I mean, he's got a point, right? Look, I'm just saying, listen, as was pointed out to me, the amount of Clinton's former people who've worked with them that have died through suicide, either Either she is terrible at picking people to work with, or she is the most effective like operator, like possibly like even more than like the CIA or anything else. Okay, and I'm not saying that Clinton has killed anybody. I am saying that the only person who really knows is who, like Jeffrey Epstein, and the person who was in the cell with him at the time.
Yeah, Agent 47 was in the room with him. But Bunty King did that like centrist thing, and it really pissed off a lot of people. Behind the scenes, he was actually a pretty nice guy. He's a gamer. He was really charitable to talk to. He would hang out with us because we ran in a group called the Reddit Crew. He was friends with a member called Anna, so he would come in and he would give like life advice as an older adult. The funny part is that the end of his career was a video where he admitted, and the video is titled this, "I'm a cuck, let's talk, Bunty King." and I will play that now because we have it.
And so I left her alone for like a month and a half. We didn't talk really. And then we started talking again towards the end of January. And that's when she revealed something very huge to me. And that was the fact that she was in a relationship the whole time. She's been caught in a loveless relationship. She doesn't love the guy. She doesn't feel anything for him, supposedly. She loves me more, supposedly. She thinks I'm the best, that he doesn't hold up a candle to me, supposedly. And I'm saying supposedly because even after she told me, this is the kind of guy I am. This is how much I loved her. I said, "It's okay, baby. Don't worry about it. I understood why you didn't tell me. I understood why you hid this from me. I'm sorry that you had to feel this way. I'm sorry that you were so anxious. I'll go through this with you. I just want you. I want you at the end of this. I just want you. I don't need you. I want you. I think that we can be valuable together. I think that we can achieve things together."
Okay. So, oh boy. Oh boy. Okay, as a grown man, what are your opinions on that series of events?
Well, I'm also aware of why she left him, right? Because her argument was that his face smelt bad, like his beard stank. And there's another video where he talks about how he loves to eat ass. And that was the joke Metica made. It's because like he never washed his face properly, but was obsessed with like eating her ass.
Oh, he had dingleberries in the beard.
And I'm just like, I don't know, man. Like, this is just... God, if this doesn't make you a skeptic, right? If this doesn't make you, like, anti-feminist, and seeing, like, one of your favorite creators or something, like, because Bunty was a big creator, and you're just like, oh, yeah, he's just, like, happy to be a cuck. I love you, babe. I know that you've been, like, fucking somebody else and never told me, but we can work through it together. Oh, bro.
There was like this video. I remember being like an absolute. I don't. To me, it comes off as like the "please come back, babe. I'd love to eat your ass again." So it's incredibly pathetic, and that is kind of what caused his downward spiral. People wouldn't take him seriously after this. I mean, even before that. Like we brought up Destiny earlier, and I'm certain Destiny's umbrage with a guy like Bunty King was more or less how Bunty would do the, well, both sides are bad thing, right? Or he'd be like, let's hear him out, which I know I'm personally not interested in listening to the guy who's like, the Jewish question, guys. We gotta talk about that.
Oh fuck. Yeah, I mean this was part of the problem though, because they were so against like the feminists. I don't think they ever saw the like weirdness internally. Because there was another person like No Bullshit. And No Bullshit is unequivocally, I think, one of the worst creators who existed at the time. He was fucking terrible. But I think he was tolerated because he was just another skeptic, right?
Yeah, no bullshit. Why did he fall off? I know he had like a big, like, blowout argument with somebody. Or no. There was somebody that made like a series of videos on him, basically just like demolishing him.
Yeah. I mean, I think eventually everyone
Yeah, all of them
found
got
someone
that.
to came for them. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of it became very personal to them. I'd say because like with Bunty, him explaining a lot of his own personal life put him. It basically allowed people to make easy low blows. It's like, who's gonna listen to the guy's relationship advice who willingly associated with being a cuck? Which, I mean, if that's your yum, I won't yuck it, but like, I'm certain some people will, and rightfully so. Especially because he was like an unconsenting. First of all, okay, you can't be a cuck if you don't know about it.
Yeah, you're like you're not a cuck. Your girlfriend just cheated on you, and then you just sort of like let her.
Yeah, you like retroactively made yourself a cuck.
I know that you say he means nothing to you, but I can sit in the chair if you want me to.
Yeah, so what's funny is that Bunty stopped interacting with me when I became more cordial with the drama community, which I thought was really funny. He didn't like how I was like friendly with Nicholas Diorio.
I can't imagine why. What did Nick do to him? It's not like Nick completely destroyed the rest of what remained of his career and then stole his Twitter and then uses an alt. That's I don't know why he'd be mad.
I think it's really funny that the guy who wanted to both sides everything decided to pick sides when it came to personal stuff. I hold no ill will to Bunty, but I think it's better he's gone. He might still be bouncing around somewhere out there, but his career's basically kaput in comparison to some of these other guys who still have quite a lot going for them. Anyway, I mentioned Mouthy Buddha earlier. How much do you know about him, Beckett?
Not much, actually. Not much. He's a bit of a blind spot.
So he was a really talented video maker. However, big however, is that he would do the radical centrist thing. But what it actually was is that he was like closetly trying to share his takes. And it would always be that the opposition to his takes would be presented with less efficiency than his opinions, right? So the big video in question was the Jewish question, which features the 3 parentheses. So here's a little inside baseball for the professional racist. If you want to talk about them and how they control the government, you write they with the capital T, but then you also include 3 parentheses on each side. So you're kind of like going, they, with air quotes, but you really mean the Jews, and them, living in your walls and controlling the government and yada yada. One of those things is true, actually, and has happened in reality. It's the walls thing. I live in New York. It's okay. I can make that joke. But
to be fair, they were only in a basement trying to illegally extend a synagogue.
So he would present these ideas, and they would constantly get a little more extreme each time, to when eventually YouTube did step in. And I'm drawing a blank on a lot of the story, but because I this is something that was regaled to me through just like conversations with other drama tubers. There had been discussions of a hard drive, which is an word.
Oh, yeah. That's whenever anyone says, "Oh, you have a hard drive or something," it's like, "Oh, okay, well, you're going to prison."
yeah. So he started making all these. So it was either there was a hard drive or he was off his schizophrenic medicine, because it kind of sounded like he was being gang stalked, but also that he was under investigation for this hard drive, and his hard drive needed to be destroyed and removed, and he had basically just removed himself from the internet for a long period of time. And then when he came back, you know, the facade was off, and now it was just a constant deluge of the exact kind of content you'd think. But before that, he had actually garnered quite a lot of viewers on his channel because of his ability to present things as professionally as he did. I distinctly remember in 2016 me watching it. And this is like an alternate reality where I just turned into the worst, craziest person ever. Because I watched some of his content recently about like all the pedo-gate stuff. And he makes some outrageous, wild claims. And it's all like these old people in like the World Trade Commission, and like it gets pretty in the weeds. But you know, I'm glad to see he's back on beautiful websites like BitChute that include 3-hour videos on why Hitler was right. So that was a good find.
I feel like everyone has that point with the Skeptics. Everyone, like, I know people who are left wingers, and they'll say, "Well, I was nearly a Nazi. I watched Saga of a Cad," and I mock these people because I mean that's just a fucking dumb thing to say. But then I think about it and I think, well, actually, you know, the people who stayed on that pipeline now are, you know, pretty fucking radical. A lot of them, you know, like when you look at Sargon's current content, it's much more right wing. And I had a similar thing where, because I didn't just look at the Skeptics and go, well, this is funny. I mean, I did, but I watched these people, you know, and like people like Teal'c, who I mentioned earlier. I liked Teal'c's work. I thought it was really interesting to watch somebody like pull apart academic papers in this way and bad science. I hadn't really seen that before, done in a way that was entertaining as opposed to, you know, kind of pompous and annoying. But I remember watching like one particular video, and it was a Rage After Storm video, where Rage After Storm was kind of like ground zero for the Skeptic breakup. She was an English/German girl who was kind of like girl next door, nerd, hot, pretty kind of thing. And she'd make these anti-feminism videos, but like most of these videos weren't anti-feminism videos. What they were was, oh my god, feminists are evil and they're trying to like destroy Western society. But you know what's really trying to destroy Western society? The Great Replacement. And it was like all heavily anti-Muslim stuff. And then there's one particular video where she's covering a terrorist attack in London. And she goes, and look at this, the day after, a woman walking past in a hijab like it's not her problem. And I'm like, okay, this is just fucking crazy now. You're just accusing random bystanders that you don't even know if they're Muslim or not. You know, it could just be she's got a shawl up. There's no evidence this woman's even a fucking Muslim. And you're like, look at how that random Muslim woman is walking past the scene of a terrorist attack celebrating. I was like, what the fuck is going on? What the fuck are you doing? And I think everyone had that point with the Skeptics where they were like the checkout point where they're just like, oh, okay, yeah, you guys have gone off the deep end.
It's really funny because I got really, really deep into it. I talk about it all the fucking time. I went back and I looked at, so I used to do conservative politics, and I was in this group called Young Americans for Liberty, which is like a libertarian organized organization. And I was going through our old group chat, and like the memes were just like the N-words into town. Like, and I was like looking at it and I'm like, we were just racist. But you know what's funny? There was only one white guy in that club. It was all Hispanics. So, you were much browner than I remember, white race savior. But I went to, so I would go to see like these people speak in public because I thought they were all like massive intellectuals. I saw Milo Yiannopoulos speak on campus in 2016.
Jesus.
And I remember going there and I was thinking, oh, look at all these liberals and they're protesting Milo, right? And so we snuck in to the speech because it was booked. So, and we climbed into the back. Again, nothing but Hispanics in suits. There was one white guy with us. The rest of us were either Mexican or Caribbean. And we're sitting in the back and we're listening to Milo Yiannopoulos talk about why hazing in fraternities is based, actually. Which turns out one of his easier to swallow opinions. Much like he swallowed dick, but it's okay. It's actually that he hates his mother now. Because now Milo famously unconverted from being gay. And Milo was kind of like this... He was one of those people that you'd point to and go, see, you can be gay and conservative.
Yeah, he used to say that, whenever people, whenever the, kind of Black Lives Matter or whatever. So I don't know if it was Black Lives Matter back then. I can't remember the fuck that's even started. But, all the sort of left-wingers were like, well, you're racist. And he was like, I'm not racist. I fuck black men. That was his argument.
Yeah, he was famously married to a buff black guy back in the day. And he even mentioned that, during his speech, we're sitting in the back, he brings out a paddle and a black guy, and he hits the black guy with a paddle. and he would show, during his speech, he even mentioned how he fucks black dudes. Right? He had a slideshow, and one of the slides was muscular black men's backs. And and you got to understand that this is a Ivy League college I'm at. The room is packed. And in hindsight, I can't believe that was happening. Right? Milo comes back to Twitter recently, by the way. He's no longer gay, allegedly. He has gone to conversion therapy, of which he now funds, and he argues gay is a choice, and also he does not fuck black men because their sperm is... He used a term. I'm using it in big quotation marks here. This is not me agreeing with this statement. He called it negroid ectoplasm, which is funny because there are rumors that he still is married to his husband, who is black. But
well, he's Catholic, so how can he get divorced?
Oh, good point. That's right.
That would be a sin.
But that's one angle of the skeptics. We mentioned Armored Skeptic earlier, who is was a big face. I don't know. I'd argue he was a big face back in the day.
Yeah, he was. He was massive. He had everything. He had the suit of armor. He had storylines to his videos. He had the trophy boxy clone.
Yeah, I was gonna say he had the ultimate nerd goal of an attractive, kind of goth leaning girl who would wear a maid dress for him. He had it all.
Yeah, he had everything, and then he fucked it up.
Well, that's the thing, because when I was researching it, there wasn't a specific moment, but everybody says that the moment Armored Skeptic's career fell apart is when Shoe on Head, his ex-girlfriend that would wear the maid dresses, left him.
So a couple of things seem to have happened. Armored continued to make the same sort of content, but it just, as I said earlier, it just stopped being as popular. The whole Shoe on Head thing's really interesting. So I don't know how much you know about June's history, but June's early videos are her doing this Jersey Shore girl thing. There's a reason why Null, the owner of Kiwi Farms, calls her a skinwalker, because Shoe on Head seems to just have looked at a video from the early 2010s of a girl named Boxy, who was this quirky emo e-chick, and just gone, yeah, that's my personality now. And she desperately, so she's described her own history as being a 4chan girl, and then she started making content. She ended up dating Armored Skeptic for many years. He even bought her a house on the border, but he never married her. And then he broke up with her to, I believe, get with a trans woman. And then it sort of spirals from there until I think it was like a year or two ago that he posted a community note where he's like, YouTube's no longer pushing my videos in the algorithm. I'm like suicidally depressed.
I have that. let me pull. I have his. I'm going to end it all post because of course I do. Yeah, I had saw that. This 2 posts he actually made about this. I am completely lost and alone. I don't know what to do, and I have nowhere to go. I hate that this is the only place I can even share this, which is a cry for help.
That's a hell of a cry for help.
It's all gone. I burned myself out the last 2 to 3 years fighting to get to the end of this. I had hoped there was something waiting for me, but there is no light at the end of the tunnel. Now I'm broke and hungry and probably won't be able to afford internet access soon. Every time I pour my heart out about all of this, all I get is, "You okay, bro?" No, I'm not okay. I no longer have the strength to dig myself out of this. Okay,
I mean, he's still making content, isn't he? Now, I mean, he didn't remove himself from the census. I mean, do you know what the storyline his show had taken at the time? Because I saw this and actually went and watched his videos from the time.
What is it? Just like him crying for help, basically through the character.
So he did this whole no, he killed himself off and then reincarnated himself as a baby.
Okie doke.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So I click on his latest video, and his latest videos is his angel and demon character talking about, well, the boss is dead and now it's a baby kind of thing. I was just like, what the fuck is going on? But yeah, he got killed by the police or something in the video in the skit. I don't fucking know.
Okay.
Speaking of steep declines, though I don't know if that's an accurate way to put it. What about Baked Alaska?
Okay, you're a Baked Alaska expert, so I'm gonna let you go off now.
So Baked Alaska. The earliest piece of content I think I've seen from Baked Alaska was, I believe, a BuzzFeed. It's either a BuzzFeed video or a BuzzFeed article where he's talking about his perfect gay date would be with Justin Bieber. And he went from that to becoming where he is now, which is like a fucking groiper right winger who stormed the Capitol on Jan 6th. Now you might be wondering what happened.
Before you explain him more, please explain what groiper is for the normies.
Okay, so the groipers I don't even know if they really exist anymore. So there is kind of a pathway that happened with the far right. So you had in the far right, and then the alt-right, which was a term coined by Richard Spencer in around 2008. And then after Richard Spencer had his great fall, because he was recorded, Charlottesville happened, and he was recorded saying, fucking a load of Nazi shit. That became sort of like the dissident right and the groipers. And the groipers were the group led by Nick Fuentes. And they're kind of like neo-Nazi Christian fascists, basically. It's probably the kind of easiest way to explain them. They've got a lot of gay scandals.
Nick Fuentes included has been constantly reported to be a gay orgies. Also famously recently had there was gay porn that played on his stream by accident, and he blamed it on the Jews.
So as far as we can tell, that actually was. So I don't think I can blame it on the Jews, but it does seem like his stream key was hacked to play game porn at the end of his stream. That does seem true. Mm-hmm. I remember when Fuentes first appeared on the scene. Actually, I remember when he was being promoted by Matica, way fucking back. So he's taken an interesting path, but I don't know if I'd ever say that he was one of the skeptics.
Yeah, he's not a skeptic. Baked Alaska, no. Anyway. Speaking of,
but yeah, so Baked Alaska. Now you might be wondering what happened in the intervening time that somebody can go from Justin Bieber is my perfect gay date to sitting in court explain to a judge how he's not guilty of like treason. Well, I have no fucking idea in some respects, because what seems to have happened was Baked Alaska basically became Milo Yiannopoulos' producer and started doing tours with him. He was noted as one of the most dangerous white supremacists in the country by the ADL. I was at university at the time, studying my master's in counterterrorism, and somebody brought this up to me. They were like, Baked Alaska is like the most dangerous white supremacist. I was like, I literally got my phone out and brought up one of his most recent streams where he was doing dog walking, and which is kind of sums up a lot of these people. It's like there's this weird public image they have. He's been interviewed by Louis Theroux of like this dangerous monster. But yeah, I mean, he's just a dude who wanted to make content. He had a whole thing with IP2, like going around in caravans, like making IRL content. He had like these weird group streams, which were just a fucking mess. And now he is basically a Christ is King. I think, he's got a little fucking cult following. It's very weird. It's very weird. But yeah, he kind of came in during the whole Milo thing with Trump, I guess. Yeah, fuck. That's God. Is there anybody from the Skeptics whose life hasn't just been a depressing fucking mess?
Shoe's it. June. Armored Skeptics X. That's it. She's it.
I think June's won out, but I think June is pretty fucking depressing in her own right. This is the way I describe June is somebody who desperately has always just wanted to get married. And she's finally done that, but it has taken her like 30 odd years and multiple weird relationships. She had a whole thing after a while, after like a year or two ago, where she was like becoming like super close with Vosh, which was super weird because she was like a Bernie bro.
I'm not surprised that she was trying to... Okay, Vosh is a leftist political streamer who recently accidentally outed that he watches anime little girl hentai porn.
And he wants to be a horse.
And he wants to be a horse while allegedly railing these characters.
I should clarify this. Vosh, for all, like, as far as I can see from stuff that I've seen logs going back to his time on Newgrounds when he was Irish laddie, back when he was like 14. This dude's been talking about fucking horses since he was like a young teenager. I feel fairly confident in saying Vosh is like into zoophilia. Like I feel like that's a safe thing to say.
The meme where it's like somebody born again, and it's like, oh, goodbye, Catherine the Great. Vosh born a day later. Hi, Catherine the Great.
I think, like, look, it kind of makes sense, because if any girl is going to dress up as a horse for Vosh, it's Sean Head.
Okay, well, here's what needs to be explained, right? I mean, honestly, right, it took her a while to get married, but whatever, good for her, right? What's funny about her, first of all, I should say that internet dom men always look like Armored Skeptic, right? But, so she had the term is DDLG, so it's daddy dom little girl relationship, right? They were very open about their sex life. Armored Skeptic would talk about how Shu would be on a leash on the floor next to him while he's editing, like a dog.
Like a dog. Didn't he use her as a footstool at one point?
Yeah, apparently. Shu would share her BDSM test stuff, which I have on screen right now. Which I don't have on screen. Now I do.
Okay.
So she's
I finally post after it, after legit a year of people asking, and nobody cares because I think they all found it out by themselves.
Yeah. Her top 5 for listeners are submissive, rope bunny, girl, pet, degradee, brat, age player, slave. Those are all over 85%. The last one is prey, primal. There we go. Here's another interesting one from her time with Armored Skeptic. Yeah,
Roses are red, violets are blue. Skeptic sexually dominates shoe. Oh, God.
This next one I really want you to read.
I bet Skeptic dominates shoe while wearing a black SS uniform. Oh.
To which Shu says, haha, look, funny post. Wouldn't that just be so weird? Haha. Don't get any ideas. Haha.
Oh my God. Okay, so I would like to destroy some delusions people have about Shu as well, just very quickly. I just want to... I know there's somebody there listening who thinks, wow, Sean Head is really hot. Sean Head is, like, bald and crazy, okay? I cannot stress this enough. Like, Sean Head is, like, the winner of the Skeptics, but by far one of the, like, she's still crazy, right? There's no sanity there. And she still ended up dating, like, isn't her husband, like not far right, but he's like a neocon.
Yeah, he's a neocon. I mean, that's why she's pregnant now, you know? Go forth and multiply.
Oh, fuck.
Hey.
So who else was there? Who else caught your eye back in the day? Who else did you meet?
Yeah, so I actually have a story about Jeff Holiday, and I know you've spoken to Jeff Holiday, and I'm going to tell a not amazing story about Jeff.
Before you tell the not amazing story about Jeff, play the Jeff clip.
Okay, I will play the Jeff clip first. So what, you interviewed him? Is that...
I interviewed him. It never got posted. I've had it on the back burner for something else for like a year, 2 years now. I never made it, but I love this clip in particular.
My name is Jeff Holiday, the leader of Kekistan. I love the blacks. Hail Kekistan.
Okay. I can't believe that we just fiddled around for you to play that fucking clip. I was ready for like a breakout clip. Like, this is gonna blow away everybody. It was that shit.
It just brings me joy, Diesel. I should be allowed to have joy. So the reason this clip is great is because for those of you who were around during the 2016 election, you might remember that Kekistan was a thing and the Pepe meme was a thing. And the media started claiming that Kekistan was like this right-wing fucking like hate group neo-Nazi thing. And the whole thing was Jeff Holiday trying to basically make something cringe. That's his argument anyway. But yeah, he was like the person who set up Kekistan, or at least made Kekistan into a movement to try and make it like take it away from 4chan and the alt-right. So it's kind of interesting to have this where he is talking about it now or make a joke about it. But yeah, he was pretty chill to talk to, which was nice because yeah, back in the day, you know, I didn't like Jeff very much. I'll be pretty open about that. I was actually quite reluctant to talk to him because I thought he'd just be a dick. But he's pretty chill these days. He's pretty chill. For again, those who don't know, he went through a really significant drama, and I think that probably helped him because, well, people turned up at his house, like, and he got sent pictures of like, people would send him pictures of like they're in their car, on the passenger seat is like a handgun, and then it would be his door. Like that's the sort of death threats he got. They were pretty fucking direct.
What was the drama he was in?
So the drama he was in was the Kraut doxing server drama. So basically, when the race realism stuff was happening, a creator named Kraut and T basically said, calling YouTube all my YouTube academics. And they were going to make content debunking the far right and like the alt-right neo-Nazi race realist people. This didn't go very well. They got like a server together. There were accusations that basically they were running a doxing server. At the time, everyone took this very seriously. As times moved on, most people don't care, but frankly, this seems incredibly fucking overblown by about like 3 people. who I won't name here, but we might do an episode on it because it is actually fairly interesting how that all unfolded. But Jeff was basically Kraut's second in command kind of best friend person. And then Kraut and T ran away from everything and has since reinvented himself as a historian content creator and stays the fuck away from drama. But Jeff was sort of left holding the bag. He was the last person fighting, which is why he got so much of the attention.
Damn, holy shit. Yeah. Well, now I feel bad that I'm going to tell this story. All right. So it was 2019, right? I'm going to a YouTuber party. Tons of people showed up. Tana Mojo stopped by. Boogie was at the party, famously. That was the year that he was planning on killing himself. And he was planning on slaying as much as possible, getting laid as much as possible before he ends it all. And, there's a couple other YouTubers there, a lot of big names. Jeff is there with his wife.
Just very quickly, can we just point out the irony that if Boogie had killed himself, then his internet legacy would actually be better?
Yeah, all the what did he do? He did like a bunch of like sugar daddy stuff.
Yeah, he's doing like
yeah.
huge amounts of weird stuff. He's just depressing. I mean, it's like they always say, you either die a hero or you live long enough that people wish you had died.
But, Boogie was there. There was a pool in the back. And I'm walking out to the back with a streamer friend of mine. And we're watching Boogie swim like a manatee up to Jeff Holliday's wife. Jeff is out of it. He had taken some shrooms or something. So he just was not in a conscious state. And Boogie was trying to flirt with Jeff's wife, to try and swoop in and take Jeff's wife. And to her credit, obviously she didn't go with Boogie. That's not where the story goes. Honestly, now that I think about it, Boogie's the one who looks like an asshole. This story just looks bad for Boogie.
Like every story involving fucking Boogie.
Okay, this is the same party where Nerd City and a bunch of other YouTubers sat Boogie down and were like, Boogie, you can't kill yourself. This was that party. I was in the room when it happened. I'm like Alexander Hamilton. But here's Boogie's Eliza moment. I'm such a theater kid. I'm so sorry. But Boogie is swimming up to her, and he says probably the worst thing that no woman ever wants to hear. He says, "I bet your pussy smells like roses," to Jeff Holliday's wife. Which, assuming Jeff was sober, he probably would have punched Boogie in the face, I'd imagine. Because Boogie was sober when he said that.
Fucking what?
But obviously she was not happy about that, and it was disgusting, and it was audibly heard by many a folk. To which another YouTuber went and relinquished Boogie from the water back onto land, where all of his gravity would affect where he walked. And that was my experience with Jeff Holliday. I did not speak to him, but the people he was doing shrooms with were actually very interesting. I couldn't imagine he would hang out with those people, but yeah, that is the time that I had experienced Jeff Holliday via proxy. Really, this is just an awful experience to talk about Boogie. Now that I think about it, but yeah, it's funny to say, yeah, that happened.
I think it's one of those things where there was a lot of like content overlap, and we'll probably do an episode on this. But the Skeptics had their own VidCon, or VidCon. Sorry.
Wait, what?
Yeah, the Skeptics had their own VidCon.
Was it called like Skeptic-Con?
No, it was called Kilroy, and it was incredibly badly managed. It was a complete shit show. in the end, barely anyone turned up to it. And, it kicked off a load of drama for quite a lot of people. And was sort of like the crowning end of the community in many ways. But that might be worth an episode. So yeah, they were big enough that they could get the funding for this together, but it went very wrong.
There were a time when these people mattered. I can't speak. Mattered.
Yeah, I mean, but that's true. I mean, it's kind of weird to think about, but yeah, they were major in a lot of ways. I mean, politics has never been like big content. Not really. Like mainstream politics, sure, but like if you're a political creator, you're very rarely going to be scraping the like social zeitgeist, realistically speaking, because it's actually pretty niche. Destiny's been around for years. People know who Destiny is. People know who Vosh is. But these are kind of the exceptions. But, people have written about the Skeptics. They've written, like, academics have written about these fucking people because of the cultural impact they had through, like, 2016, through, like, 2017, 2018. This is a community that's essentially responsible for the grassroots movement that would become Jan 6. It's kind of wild to consider that these were all just shit posters on the internet and 4chan for a while. And it's led to, quite insane real world crossover. Very few, sections of kind of the content verse can say that.
Yep, and it all started when the amazing atheist put a banana in his ass.
It did. God, what a fucking legacy.
But I think that's a really good place to end.
Yeah, I think that's solid.
Where can people find you, Beckett?
Well, people can find me at Cope and Seethe. Where can people find you, Diesel?
Oh wow! I mean, I stream weekly on Diesel IRL, and I put up videos occasionally on FPS Diesel. But yeah, it's at Cope and Seethe for Beckett everywhere. Cope and Seethe, what? Cope and Seethe YT, right?
Yeah, just
it'll be in the description or everything, so you can go check us out. And there is more internet to explore. So stay on the lookout.
Yeah, we'll definitely sort the branding of this eventually.
Oh, okay. Listen, buddy.
Well, it's been fun. Take care of yourselves and keep listening.